Alright, so we are here at this account. We are here for a unrestored fire supervisory zone 4 valve tamper. This is the panel that we're working with. And here's the account information, and we're gonna pop it open and check what's going on with the account. So, looking at it right now, if we move over to the screen on the panel, you'll see that there's an active supervisory for a tamper, zone 4. So zone 4 is the description of the supervisory. And if we come over here to the riser, you see zone 3 is the water flow, and zone 4 is down here, which is the tamper. And if you look here, this is the wiring that came out of here. So this at one point was slotted up here, but going back to the fire panel, you see each zone. So the panel is looking for resistance on these zones, and you have each one of these zones is going to have a resistor. So if we, let's see, so I'm gonna pop this open. Pop it open, you're going to see that at the end of the line for zone 3, there is a resistor, 4.7K. That's the resistor for this panel. That's what it's looking for. And if we go back down here, come back down here to these wires, you can see there are two ends. So the tamper is always going to have two sets of wires that you're going to have to hook to the fire system. And let's see here. Why are there two? So it looks like there's an extra wire in here. Just trying to organize these so I can better read them. So I was actually able to figure out the problem most of the way. So there was an extra wire down here at the tamper that shouldn't have been there, and that wire was removed. So like I was saying earlier, there's two sets of wires down here at the tamper that need to be hooked up to the system, and it's in a normally open position, but it's monitored by a resistor. So you have two sets of wires. You put your wire directly onto one set of the wires. So there's I believe it was red and white, and there's two sets. So one set red and white goes onto the black and white for the fire system. God, that was hard pushing that in. And the other set, you put a resistor on it, and again, it's an normally open circuit. So if you leave the second set without anything on it, it's going to show on the panel open circuit zone 4. And so what you do is you put a resistor on the second set, and that is now a monitored circuit. So the panel's picking up that there's a 4.7K resistor, which is what it's looking for, so it's a normal condition, right? And so what they had on there were two sets of wires. So going back to a junction box, and it would be fine if they put the resistor at the junction box. You know, it's kind of just a way of making it neater and easier to do inside of the junction box because there's more space. But they didn't do that. They had it set up to where it's two wires. I have no idea where that other wire is going, so it was just causing a supervisor because it's in an open position. If that makes sense. And so that's all done. All cleaned up. Take this with me. Oops. So this one I don't know where it is, so I'm going to label it as like extra or unknown for now, and then I'll note that in my notes that I don't know where that is. But as you can see, system normal. And then if we go back here, zone 4, and we test it as, you know, someone testing it normally would, you get zone 4. Panel's beeping, and you have active tampers, zone 4. And then we go back, and there you go. System normal. Okay, so that's all done, and we're all set. So we're gonna check what's going on here. Don't see anything that's coming through. I mean, the only thing I could think of would be a battery in the GSM. Other than that, I don't see any other possible reason why there would be a periodic test with system trouble. So I'm going to try to disconnect the battery. Go ahead and do that and wait for that to come in. I don't really see any other troubles. So that's where we are at right now. So even that isn't coming in as what I would want it to come in as. So we're gonna go ahead and put this cover back on. There's no screws here for this. There are a few actually, so go ahead and put those on. The only fault that I found for this account is the communicator. This has a tamper switch on it, so when someone pulls the cover off, we get a trouble notification. And the only thing that I noticed was that the cap was placed incorrectly, so it wasn't secured properly, and the screws were not on. There's 4 screws that hold it in place, and none of them were there. So what I did was looked around, and I found 2 of the screws, 2 of the 4 screws. I put one on each corner on opposite ends, and that should hold it securely to ensure that the tamper switch doesn't engage. Yeah, so I think that was it, and now we're just gonna wait for the next periodic test and see if there's any troubles with it. So actually, what I'll do is, so now system is resetting, and it'll automatically do the test report, the automatic test report at 1:22. So we're gonna wait a whole minute and see if it comes in, and if it does, if and when it does, we'll see what it comes in as. So we're kind of just waiting now to see when the trouble comes in. Well, not the trouble, but when the panel reports, and to see if any troubles come in with that. It's reporting now, so there you go, periodic test report. And now we'll just wait for it to finish reporting, and we should receive the report with no system troubles. And then with that, we'll confirm whether or not it was the lid on the DSC. There you go. So now we have periodic test report and no faults, so that's very likely what it was. So that's all done. This job is completed. We figured out what the problem was. Sometimes it's really simple things like that people come and do the jobs, and they're inspecting or they're installing, and they don't do the things the way they're supposed to be done, so that causes issues down the line. Like someone probably checked that battery and figured it was hard to get those screws off. I'm not going to put them back on. A lot of times that would cause many issues within the fire system, because yes, they might have a system normal at the time that they leave the account, but the way they put the cap on, with time, like the slightest little vibration will make that panel lid move, and because there's a tamper switch in there, it'll knock it out of alignment, and then it'll throw troubles. And that's kind of what we saw today. I don't know what happened or how it ended up coming off and being mounted like that, but looks like that was the case. So hopefully problem is fixed and we won't have any issues anymore.